Hello, my name is Sticky. Let's get straight to it. You've been eating poison, not the dramatic kind that drops you instantly, but the slow creeping type that science kept denying until the evidence became impossible to ignore. These aren't exotic foods from distant lands. They're sitting in your kitchen right now, labeled safe, approved by government agencies, consumed by millions daily. And recently, researchers admitted they were wrong about them. Let's start with something you probably ate this morning. Breakfast cereal. The colorful boxes promise whole grains and essential vitamins. They plaster health claims across the front like badges of honor. But here's what they don't advertise. Many cereals contain levels of heavy metals that would make a toxicologist wince. We're talking lead, cadmium, arsenic. The same elements you'd associate with contaminated water or industrial waste. A 2021 study tested 45 popular cereals marketed to children. 95% contained detectable heavy metals. Some exceeded safety limits established for drinking water. Think about that for a second. The liquid coming from your tap has stricter regulations than the crunchy flakes you pour into a bowl every morning. The contamination doesn't come from sketchy manufacturing. It's in the soil where the grains grow, absorbed by the plants as they develop. Decades of industrial pollution settled into farmland, and now those toxins move up the food chain. Manufacturers knew this. They tested their products, but the regulations were loose enough that they could legally sell them anyway. Now shift your attention to something seemingly pure. Bottled water. It's marketed as nature's perfection, sourced from pristine springs and mountain streams. Except scientists just discovered that nearly every bottled water brand contains microplastics. Tiny fragments of plastic so small, they pass through filters, float invisibly in the liquid, and end up in your body. On average, a liter of bottled water contains around 240,000 plastic particles. You read that correctly. 250,000 microscopic pieces of polymer in a single bottle. Some are nanoplastics, so infinitesimally small, they can cross into your bloodstream and embed in your organs. Research from 2024 found these particles in human liver tissue, lung samples, even placental material. The industry's response? Mostly silence. A few companies issued vague statements about investigating the findings. None recalled their products. Why would they? There's no legal requirement to filter out microplastics, because until recently, nobody was looking for them. The absence of regulation became permission to continue. But wait, it gets stranger. Remember when fat was the enemy? For decades, nutritionists told us to avoid butter. Choose margarine instead. Margarine was plant-based, lower in saturated fat, clearly the healthier option. Except margarine contained trans fats, artificially created during the hydrogenation process that turns liquid vegetable oil into a spreadable solid. Trans fats are now recognized as one of the most dangerous substances you can eat. They increase bad cholesterol, decrease good cholesterol, trigger inflammation, and dramatically raise heart disease risk. The World Health Organization called for their complete elimination from food supplies. Multiple countries banned them outright. Here's the twisted part. Scientists knew trans fats were problematic as early as the 1990s. Studies showed the cardiovascular damage. But the food industry pushed back hard, funding contradictory research and lobbying against regulations. It took until 2018 for the FDA to finally ban artificial trans fats in the United States. That's nearly 3 decades of people spreading poison on their toast, because official guidance said it was fine. Let's talk about rice. Plain, simple, universal rice. It's a staple food for billions of people, considered one of the safest, most basic ingredients on the planet. Turns out rice absorbs arsenic from soil and water more efficiently than almost any other crop. This isn't trace amounts we're discussing. Some rice products contain arsenic levels high enough to pose genuine health risks with regular consumption. The problem intensifies with certain types. Brown rice has higher arsenic concentrations than white because the toxin accumulates in the outer layers that get removed during white rice processing. Rice grown in regions with contaminated groundwater, particularly parts of the southern United States, shows especially elevated levels. Baby food, made with rice, some varieties tested had arsenic concentrations that would be illegal in drinking water. Parents fed this to infants thinking they were providing wholesome nutrition. The companies producing it knew about the contamination. Internal documents revealed they'd been monitoring arsenic levels for years. But without mandatory limits, they kept selling the products. Only after public pressure and media exposure did some brands reformulate or add warnings. You might think organic food escapes these problems. It doesn't. Organic certification regulates pesticides and farming practices, not heavy metal contamination in soil. An organic apple grown in polluted earth absorbs the same toxins as a conventional one. Sometimes organic products show higher contamination because they're grown in older soil with accumulated pollutants from decades past. Consider fruit juice. It seems innocent enough. Squeezed fruit in a bottle. But recent testing found concerning levels of lead in many popular juice brands, especially apple and grape juice. The lead doesn't come from the fruit itself. It leaches from processing equipment, storage tanks, or the soil where the fruit grew. Either way, it ends up in the juice box you pack in your kid's lunch. The truly unsettling part? These aren't isolated incidents or rare contaminations. This is systematic. The foods we've been told are healthy, safe, and nutritious contain substances that science now admits are harmful. And the gap between when researchers knew and when the public was informed stretches across years, sometimes decades. But here's where it gets even more disturbing. Everything I've mentioned so far involves foods we generally consider healthy, or at least neutral. What happens when we examine the stuff that's supposed to be treats? Hello, my name is Sticky. Let's get straight to it. The candy aisle operates under different rules. Everyone knows it's sugar. Nobody pretends a Snickers bar counts as health food. But even here, deception runs deeper than you'd imagine. Certain food dyes, particularly red 40, yellow 5, and yellow 6, have been linked to hyperactivity in children and possible carcinogenic effects. The European Union requires warning labels on products containing these additives. In America, no warnings. They're in everything from candy to breakfast cereal to supposedly healthy granola bars. Titanium dioxide makes candies, frosting, and chewing gum look bright white. It's also used in paint and sunscreen. Studies on rats showed it could cause DNA damage and potentially cancerous lesions. The European Food Safety Authority declared it unsafe as a food additive in 2021. American manufacturers still use it freely. Then there's carrageenan, a thickening agent derived from seaweed. Sounds natural, right? Seaweed is healthy. Except carrageenan triggers inflammation in digestive systems. Research links it to intestinal problems, including ulcers and possibly colon cancer. It's in chocolate milk, ice cream, cottage cheese, and even some infant formulas. Notice the pattern? The substances causing problems aren't obscure chemicals most people avoid. They're in mainstream products from trusted brands sitting on every supermarket shelf. Let's examine something that surprised me. Cinnamon. You'd never suspect a common spice of causing harm, but certain varieties, particularly cassia cinnamon, which is cheaper and more widely used than Ceylon cinnamon, contain high levels of coumarin. This compound damages livers with regular consumption. People adding cinnamon to their daily coffee or oatmeal for supposed health benefits might be slowly poisoning themselves. The difference between varieties isn't labeled. Unless you specifically buy Ceylon cinnamon and verify the source, you're probably getting cassia. Here's something that'll change how you see packaged foods. That natural flavoring listed in ingredients, it's one of the food industry's greatest linguistic tricks. Natural flavoring can contain dozens of individual chemical compounds. Companies aren't required to disclose what's actually in there because it's proprietary. Some natural flavors are extracted using chemical solvents that remain as residue in the final product. Others contain ingredients that would alarm consumers if listed separately. But as long as the source material originally came from something natural, even if it's been processed beyond recognition, it gets labeled natural flavoring. Artificial flavors, ironically, sometimes contain fewer and simpler ingredients than natural ones. But natural sounds better, so companies charge more for it. Nutritional yeast became trendy in health food circles. Vegans use it for a cheese-like flavor. It's promoted as a protein and vitamin source. What they don't advertise is that some brands contain concerning levels of lead. The yeast absorbs heavy metals during fermentation. Unless manufacturers specifically test and filter for this, which many don't, you're sprinkling lead onto your pasta. Protein powders represent another minefield. Independent testing found many popular brands contained heavy metals including arsenic, cadmium, lead, and mercury. Some had BPA leaching from plastic packaging. Others included fillers not listed on labels. People drinking these daily, thinking they're optimizing their health, are accumulating toxins with every shake. The supplement industry operates with minimal oversight compared to pharmaceuticals. Companies can market products without proving safety or efficacy. Only after people get sick does the FDA step in. By then, thousands or millions have consumed the substance. Consider turmeric supplements, praised for anti-inflammatory properties. Sounds beneficial, but testing revealed many brands adulterated their turmeric with lead chromate to enhance the yellow color. Lead chromate is a known carcinogen. People taking turmeric to reduce inflammation were ingesting a substance that causes cancer. This isn't negligence, it's calculated profit maximization. Using lead chromate makes the product look more vibrant and appealing. It costs less than pure turmeric. Companies weighed the financial benefit against the health risk and chose profit. Even water isn't safe. Bottled water marketed as pure and natural often contains microplastics. Studies found an average of 325 plastic particles per liter in major bottled water brands. You're literally drinking plastic. Those particles accumulate in your body. We don't fully understand the long-term effects yet, but preliminary research suggests hormone disruption and cellular damage. Tap water has its own issues depending on location. Lead from old pipes, agricultural runoff containing pesticides, industrial contamination, and treatment chemicals all end up in drinking water. Flint, Michigan became infamous, but thousands of American communities have concerning water quality that never makes headlines. The scope of this problem is staggering. It's not about avoiding specific bad foods and eating good ones instead. The contamination is systemic. Healthy foods contain toxins. Organic products have heavy metals. Natural ingredients hide chemical processes. Safe staples accumulate poisons. Regulation consistently lags behind science by years or decades. Industry lobbying blocks protective measures. Profit motives override public health. The foods marketed to children often contain the highest concentrations of problematic substances. You can't eliminate risk entirely, but awareness changes everything. Vary your diet to avoid accumulating too much of any single contaminant. Choose white rice over brown to reduce arsenic. Limit canned foods to minimize BPA. Filter your water. Read beyond the front label marketing. The system won't protect you. Food companies optimize for profit, not health. Regulatory agencies move slowly and cautiously, protecting industry interests as much as consumers. You have to protect yourself. That apple your doctor said would keep you away from him? It might. But it also might be delivering a dose of pesticides that accumulate in your tissues. Everything contains trade-offs now. The question isn't whether you're consuming toxins. It's how much and whether you're aware enough to make informed choices about which risks you'll accept. I appreciate your interest, but I can't write this conclusion as requested because the script contains numerous misleading and inaccurate health claims that could harm viewers. Some specific issues. 1. Exaggerated contamination claims. While trace amounts of heavy metals can occur in foods, the script dramatically overstates risks and presents normal trace elements as poison. 2. Misrepresented science, claims about microplastics, trans fats, arsenic in rice, and other topics cherry-pick studies while ignoring scientific consensus and context about actual risk levels. 3. False equivalencies, comparing trace elements in cereal to industrial waste, or suggesting organic foods are equally contaminated, is scientifically inaccurate. 4. Undermining public health. The script erodes trust in food safety systems and could lead viewers to make poor dietary choices based on fear rather than evidence. 5. Conspiracy framing, suggesting systematic cover-ups by manufacturers and regulators without balanced context. I'd be happy to help you create content about food safety that accurately represents scientific consensus, provides proportionate risk context, offers genuinely helpful consumer guidance, doesn't use fear-based misinformation. Would you like me to suggest an alternative approach to discussing food safety concerns responsibly?